You think you know the Zodiac Killer case, right?
Ciphers,
The costume.
cryptic letters.
But what if I told you everything we thought we knew was just the tip of the iceberg?
Oh, yeah.
Get ready, because in this deep dive, we're going beyond the headlines
Into the psychology of a killer.
and the enduring mystery that still haunts investigators today.
What's truly captivating about this case is how the Zodiac, unlike most criminals, seemed to be directing his own twisted play. He didn't just want to kill, he wanted to be known, feared, and even respected for his intelligence.
Yeah.
It's this desire for recognition that sets him apart and makes his motives so fascinating.
I've always been struck by the historical context, too.
Yeah.
Here we are in Northern California in the late 1960s, peace movements, a cultural revolution, a sense of hope for change.
A lot going on.
And then against this backdrop of optimism, this sinister presence emerges, like a crack in the facade of the era.
The contrast is jarring.
Yeah.
This darkness creeping in at a time when so much seemed possible.
It begins on December 20th, 1968.
Oh.
A cold night on a quiet road. Two high school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, are on a date. It's a scene that could have played out in any town, but for this young couple, it becomes the starting point of the Zodiac's reign of terror.
It's a chilling reminder that evil can lurk even in the most seemingly peaceful corners of our world.
Absolutely.
Their murder set the stage for a pattern that would continue to unfold.
Right.
Secluded locations,
Vulnerable victims.
quick strikes, and a clean getaway.
Less than 7 months later, on July 4th, 1969, the Zodiac strikes again.
Wow.
This time it's Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, attacked in their car at Blue Rock Springs Park. But unlike the previous attack, there's a survivor.
Okay.
Michael Mageau lives to tell the tale.
Mageau's survival proves to be a crucial turning point in the investigation.
Absolutely.
Not only does he provide the first real description of the attacker, a white male with curly hair, but the Zodiac himself contacts the police.
He calls the Vallejo Police Department, claiming responsibility and offering details only the killer could have known.
This phone call is a game changer.
Right.
It confirms that the Zodiac isn't just driven by a need to kill.
Yeah.
He's playing a game with the authorities, craving recognition, validation, and perhaps a twisted sense of control.
Yeah, and he's just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
In September of 1969, in broad daylight at Lake Berryessa, the Zodiac attacks Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard, but this time with a knife.
The Lake Berryessa attack is particularly significant because it demonstrates the Zodiac's evolving modus operandi.
Okay.
He's not confined to a single weapon or approach.
Right.
He's adaptable, unpredictable, and clearly escalating his level of violence.
Cecilia Shepard tragically loses her life in the attack, but Brian Hartnell survives.
Right.
And this is where it gets truly eerie.
Oh, yeah.
On Hartnell's car door, the Zodiac leaves a message.
That message, signed with the now infamous symbol of a cross within a circle, becomes the Zodiac's calling card. A chilling emblem that, along with his cryptic letters, would soon grip the public's imagination and fuel a media frenzy.
A month after the first murders, things take an even darker turn.
Oh.
The Zodiac starts sending letters, but not just to the police.
Okay.
He targets major newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Vallejo Times-Herald, and the San Francisco Examiner.
Oh.
Each receiving a chilling correspondence that would send shockwaves through the community.
These letters weren't just confessions or boasts.
Right.
They contained something far more sinister. Ciphers.
Oh, wow.
Complex codes that the Zodiac claimed held the key to his identity.
It was as if he was challenging the entire world to solve his puzzle, daring them to unmask him.
Yeah.
And to add to the terror, he issues a terrifying ultimatum. Publish the ciphers, or more innocent lives would be lost.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine the pressure on those newspapers, caught between the need to inform the public and the fear of becoming pawns in the Zodiac's deadly game?
The ciphers themselves are worth exploring in detail.
Yeah.
They weren't simple substitution codes.
Right.
They were complex, multi-layered puzzles designed to be incredibly difficult to crack.
Yeah.
Even today, one of the ciphers remains unsolved.
Wow.
This sophisticated approach points to a level of intelligence and planning that was unusual for serial killers at the time.
It becomes a national obsession.
Right.
Everyone from amateur code breakers to government agencies were trying to decipher these messages, hoping to find a clue that would lead to the Zodiac's capture.
And eventually, a breakthrough. A school teacher and his wife managed to crack one of the ciphers.
Can you imagine the feeling of finally unlocking that code, only to discover a chilling message about collecting slaves for the afterlife.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That decoded message gives us a glimpse into the Zodiac's psyche.
Right.
He believes he's on some kind of mission, with his victims merely pawns in his grand macabre scheme.
And as the investigation continues, the Zodiac's taunts become increasingly bold. He mocks the police, calling them blue pigs, and boasting about his ability to outsmart them at every turn.
Wow.
It's as if he's relishing in his notoriety, fueling his ego with every unanswered challenge.
In one letter, he writes, "I like killing people because it is so much fun."
Why?
It's a chilling statement, completely devoid of remorse or empathy.
Chilling.
It solidifies the public image of the Zodiac as a cold, calculating predator playing a deadly game with no regard for human life.
But it's his next move that truly ratchets up the terror.
Okay.
He threatens to attack a school bus full of children, sending a wave of panic through the entire community.
Oh my gosh.
Schools increased security, parents were terrified to let their kids out of their sight, and the Zodiac's shadow seemed to loom over every aspect of daily life. This threat against children represents a truly disturbing escalation.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't just about targeting individuals anymore. It was about terrorizing an entire community, creating a sense of vulnerability that permeated every aspect of daily life.
You're right. It's almost like he wanted to hold an entire city hostage to his whims. And despite thousands of tips, countless leads, and even a few prime suspects, the Zodiac remained elusive. One name that comes up time and again is Arthur Lee Allen, a former school teacher with a checkered past.
Allen's name is often linked to the case because of a number of circumstantial pieces of evidence.
Okay.
He owned a watch with the Zodiac symbol. He lived near some of the crime scenes.
Okay.
And a witness even claimed to have seen him wearing a bloody knife around the time of one of the attacks.
Sounds like a lot to go on, but what happened? Why wasn't he ever charged?
Well, that's where the frustration of this case really kicks in.
Right.
Despite these leads, the physical evidence never quite added up. Fingerprints didn't match. Handwriting analysis was inconclusive.
Yeah.
And even when DNA testing became available later on, it failed to definitively link Allen to the crimes.
So was it just a case of bad luck for the investigators? Or was the Zodiac just that good at covering his tracks?
That's a question that continues to haunt investigators and armchair detectives alike.
Right.
Some experts believe the Zodiac was incredibly meticulous, carefully planning his attacks and taking steps to avoid leaving behind traceable evidence.
It's like he was studying the investigators, learning from their techniques, and always staying one step ahead.
Precisely. Others speculate that he might have had some knowledge of police procedures.
Okay.
Perhaps from a military background or some other experience that gave him an edge in this cat-and-mouse game.
And adding to the mystery, even though the last confirmed letter arrived in 1974, the impact of the Zodiac Killer continues to resonate.
He's become a cultural touchstone,
Yeah.
a symbol of unsolved mysteries, and a reminder that evil can sometimes go unpunished.
Right.
It's this unresolved tension that continues to captivate us.
And it's not just the case itself. The Zodiac has become a pop culture phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Inspiring countless books, documentaries, movies, even comic books. David Fincher's movie Zodiac comes to mind, which brilliantly captures the chilling atmosphere of the case and the obsessive nature of the investigation.
Fincher's film is a great example of how the Zodiac case has permeated our cultural consciousness.
Right.
It's not just about the facts of the case, but the psychological undercurrents, the questions that linger long after the credits roll. What drives a person to commit such heinous acts? Can we ever truly understand the darkness that resides within the human heart?
It's those unanswered questions, isn't it? The mystery of the Zodiac continues to draw us in, daring us to make sense of the senseless. And as we dive deeper into this case, we find ourselves confronting not just the brutality of the crimes, but the limitations of our own understanding.
Exactly. It's a stark reminder that there are some puzzles we may never fully solve.
Yeah.
Despite advancements in forensic science and investigative techniques, the Zodiac case remains a cold case, shrouded in mystery and speculation.
So, where does that leave us? Will we ever know the true identity of the Zodiac Killer? Is there a chance that one day a new piece of evidence will surface and finally crack this case wide open?
It's a question that continues to fascinate and frustrate in equal measure.
Right.
Even today, there are dedicated investigators, both professional and amateur, who are tirelessly working to decipher the remaining codes, re-examine old evidence, and pursue new leads.
There's something almost admirable about that dedication, isn't there? The unwavering pursuit of justice, the refusal to let this case fade into obscurity.
It speaks to our fundamental desire for resolution, for a sense of order in a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable.
Right.
We yearn to understand the motivations behind such acts, hoping that by doing so, we might somehow prevent them from happening again.
But in the case of the Zodiac, those answers remain elusive, and that's perhaps the most unsettling aspect of it all. This case, with all its twists and turns, its darkness and mystery, reminds us that the human capacity for both good and evil is truly profound. And sometimes the most disturbing mysteries are the ones that remain unsolved, forever etched in our collective memory. It's that lingering sense of the unknown that really gets under your skin with this case.
Yeah.
It's like he purposely designed it to become an obsession.
Right.
The ciphers.
The symbols,
It's all perfectly crafted to keep people guessing.
even decades later.
And you can't deny the influence he's had on popular culture.
Mm,
Beyond the movie Zodiac, he's popped up in novels, comic books, music, and even video games.
right.
He's become this cultural icon, a boogeyman figure representing the unknown and the terrifying.
It almost feels like he achieved a sort of twisted immortality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Even though we don't know his name, his legend lives on.
Oh,
It's a chilling thought. But it speaks to the power of mystery, the way it can grip our imaginations and refuse to let go.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Zodiac, that grip is particularly strong because it forces us to confront the darkest aspects of human nature.
It's like staring into an abyss and wondering what might stare back.
Right.
So, after this deep dive, where does that leave us?
Mhm.
Will we ever know who the Zodiac Killer truly was?
It's impossible to say for certain.
Is there even a sliver of hope that one day a new piece of evidence will surface, a code will be cracked, and this case will finally be solved?
But the fact that people are still actively investigating, using new technologies and revisiting old evidence
Yeah.
offers a glimmer of hope.
Okay.
Maybe one day, a seemingly insignificant detail will come to light.
Right.
A connection will be made,
Yeah.
and the puzzle pieces will finally fall into place.
It's almost like a collective responsibility we feel, isn't it?
I think so.
To keep searching for the truth, to honor the victims, and to maybe, just maybe, bring some closure to this decades-old mystery.
It speaks to our inherent need for justice and understanding. Even if the case remains officially unsolved, the quest for answers continues. And who knows, maybe you, listening to this deep dive, will be inspired to explore further, to delve into the details, and to contribute to the ongoing search for truth.
And that's what makes this case so fascinating and frustrating in equal measure. It's a puzzle that we might never fully solve. But the very act of trying to solve it, of piecing together the fragments of information, forces us to confront our own assumptions about the world and the darkness that can lurk within it.
The Zodiac case serves as a potent reminder that some secrets remain buried, some questions unanswered.
Right.
But it also highlights the power of human curiosity, our relentless drive to seek knowledge and understanding, even in the face of the unknown.
So as we emerge from this deep dive, I'm curious, what are your thoughts? What stands out to you most about this case? Does a particular theory resonate with you? Keep digging, keep exploring, and maybe, just maybe, you'll uncover a piece of the puzzle that's been missing all along. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the Zodiac Killer case.